My name's Dave Palumbo. I'm the owner of rxmuscle.com website, which features bodybuilding contest coverage, interviews, and radio shows. I'm also the owner of Species Nutrition, and I'm a former competitive bodybuilder. I think a big topic in bodybuilding, at least in the amount of, I train a lot of clients. I probably have 100 to 200 clients every year, and it seems to be growing all the time. And a big goal, I think, among not just bodybuilders, but people who work out in general, is they want to get in shape. They want to get lean. Everyone wants to have abdominal muscle showing. Everyone wants to have low body fat levels. And everyone wants to get muscular at the same time. So that seems to be a common theme that I see, at least in my clients. And no one seems to have the formula, okay, to reproduce this on a regular basis. Everyone sees professional bodybuilders on stage with gifted metabolisms, eating all kinds of crazy diets. Everyone tries to copy these diets, and they can't reproduce the results. And the problem is because you don't want to try to copy the results of the guys that are genetically gifted. You need to find a formula that works for everyone. And over the years, the last 20 years that I've been in this industry, I was a former medical school student for 3 years. I was about a year away from becoming a doctor. I kind of left the medical field because I became a little disillusioned with the fact that they kind of only treat symptoms, and no one really worries about preventative medicine, keeping people healthy. So I got involved with this while I was competing at the same time. And a common theme I kept seeing was that people could not reliably get in shape. If they were real motivated, they were able to do it. If they weren't so motivated, it seemed like it was an impossibility. So I started setting out to figure out what was going on with the body. And over the years, I learned different techniques, and I came up with a system that I believe works. And I wasn't the inventor of this system. I think what I did was bring it to the masses and made it easy to understand. And the premise of this is that our bodies are amino acid driven organisms, meaning protein driven. Everything in the body, our lean skeletal muscle, our hair, nails, skin, everything is made of protein. And if we don't constantly consume protein and give our body the raw materials, it can't repair itself. The hand we have today, when we were 8 years old, was much smaller, and those cells are gone, and they've been replaced by new cells, new protein. And if we don't constantly feed the body what it needs, we can't reproduce or create new tissue in our body. Now, for a bodybuilder, a person who works out, we're looking to put on new muscle, new lean muscle. So it becomes of prime importance to eat enough daily protein. And the funny thing about protein is that there's no storage facility for it. We got storage for fat. We have fat cells in the body. We have storage for carbohydrates, glycogen stores in the muscles and in the liver. But there's no storage facility for protein. So if we don't eat protein on a regular basis, what basically happens is our bodies start cannibalizing, eating our lean muscle tissue and taking the amino acids it needs out of there. So that would be a good analogy would be if we were on a desert island and we were starving to death, there was no food, and we decided, well, we're hungry, we'll just eat our arm. And that would satisfy the protein requirements of the body, but obviously you wouldn't have an arm left. So that would be kind of ridiculous. So here we are in the gym trying to train, put on lean muscle mass to increase our metabolic rate ultimately. And if we don't eat enough protein, in women, 5 protein servings a day, and men, 6 protein servings a day, then we're in essence building muscle and then eating it up in order to feed the body the required protein that it needs. And that's the problem. So right off the bat, every diet that anyone follows, for that matter, whether it be a bodybuilder, a physique athlete, even a regular person, has to be a protein-based diet that's several feedings per day. And what I found to be ideal is 5 feedings for women, 6 feedings for men. Now this goes for Mrs. Jones, who has 2 kids and just does some aerobics every morning, because the protein requirements of the body are the same. They need to be consumed every few hours because of this lack of storage facility in the body. Now the amounts will vary according to how big we are, and we usually estimate about 1 gram to 1.5 grams of protein per pound. That's pretty standard across the board. Now most people won't debate this need of protein, especially physique athletes know this is important. However, where we run into problems is when we talk about the other 2 macronutrient parts of food, that being carbohydrates and fats. Fats get a bad rap because people associate stored body fat with fat. And in the past, the government has kind of, especially starting in 1983, the government, did this whole study and found that we have a lot of obesity in this country. And to combat it, they suggested eating a low-fat diet, which was the worst suggestion. And 30 years later, obesity has probably tripled or quadrupled since then. The problem being that there's only one hormone in the body, okay, one single hormone that can store body fat, and that's insulin. The only thing that causes the hormone insulin to be released in the body is carbohydrate ingestion. So when we eat carbohydrates, our bodies break them down, absorb it into the bloodstream. The carbohydrates become absorbed as glucose, which is blood sugar. And then insulin's job is to take the glucose and feed the cells. So you cannot absorb glucose without insulin. So as soon as a person's body, okay, absorbs these carbohydrates, insulin is released from the pancreas, and then the insulin feeds all the cells, the muscle cells, the brain cells, and any other cell that need nutrients. When these cells get filled up, okay, kind of similar to when your car gets filled up with gas, okay, the extra will just spill over. If you try to put too much gasoline in your car and the tank's full, it's going to spill over. Well, when the cells are filled up with glucose, the fat cells have to take the spillover, the extra, and put it into the fat cells. And that creates fat, more fat. So in essence, insulin is a fat storage hormone. And like I said, it's the only hormone that stores fat. And as a matter of fact, fat ingestion suppresses insulin release. Okay, so insulin is the only thing that can cause us to get fat, and carbohydrate ingestion is the only thing that causes insulin release. So it only makes sense that if we're trying to burn body fat or maximize body fat, burning, create an ideal hormonal environment for fat to be mobilized from the body, we need to keep carbohydrates very low, okay? Now, if we come back to fats for a minute and we look at fats, fats get a bad rap because, we associate fats with heart disease. However, there's good fats and then there's bad fats, okay? The bad fats, okay, would be known as our saturated fats coming from red meats and saturated sources of fat that we ingest, like butter and bacon fat and stuff like that. That's the stuff we don't want to get too much of. We need a little bit of it because some cholesterol is necessary to synthesize certain hormones in the body, specifically the steroidal hormones like testosterone in men and estrogen and progesterone in women. But given the fact that we get a small amount of the saturated fat, which is kind of hard to avoid anyway, the rest of the fats are known as what's good as the good fats, or the healthy fats, the healing fats. And there's two categories of those healing fats. One is known as the essential fatty acids, or the polyunsaturated fats. These fats actually are called essential fatty acids because they're essential to the diet. It's not an either-or type of situation. Well, I like to follow this diet or that. You have to take these in. Okay, if you don't take these in, your body will be in a fat-deprived state. Now, what do we need these essential fats for? Some are used for making certain prostaglandins or local acting hormones. But predominantly, if we think of it from a bodybuilder standpoint, when we break down muscle tissue, okay, muscle cells, each cell is predominantly made of protein, okay, the inner components of the cell. The outer component that surrounds the cell is known as the cell membrane. That's made of fats. And the specific type of fats it's very rich in are essential fatty acids. So if we don't take in essential fatty acids in our diet, okay, what we're in essence doing is not allowing our body to have the raw materials, all the raw materials it needs to repair muscle tissue, which for a bodybuilder or physique athlete is not a good thing to do. Because if we don't have enough raw materials, we're inhibiting our body's ability to repair itself and to get bigger. So we need these essential fats. Now, an important thing to remember is that, especially in women, this occurs, if we don't give our body all these essential fats, and I'm going to talk about what they are in a second, these essential fats, then what the body will do is it will sense it's in a fat-deprived state. Regardless if it's actually taking enough calories. You could eat enough calories, but if there's not enough essential fat, the body will say, wait a minute, there's not enough fat here. We got to hoard fat. And in women, the body will hoard fat in the lower body, hips, thighs, butt. Men, it'll be around the waist. And that's why a lot of people find that these are areas that they just cannot get lean. And usually these people, what they do is they restrict fat more when they can't get this area lean, thinking that it's going to help them to get leaner. And this is the worst thing they can do. Okay, so you really need to provide enough of these essential fatty acids. Now, the question comes up, what are these essential fats? Where do I find these? Well, there's two families of essential fats. One is known as the omega-3s, coming from like fish oils, there's something called omega-3 eggs you can get them from, flaxseed. These are sources of omega-3 fats, okay, that are necessary in our diet. The other family is known as the omega-6 fats. You can get these from cooking oils and nuts, evening primrose oil, a very good source of omega-6 fats. The human diet today, at least, is got a lot of omega-6 fats in it, very little omega-3s, which throws the balance of these off, and that's a problem. Why is the balance thrown off? Well, because in this country we feed all the animals the wrong foods. We feed cows, which should be eating grass, we feed them corn. Instead of feeding the chickens, okay, seeds, because birds are supposed to eat seeds, we feed them corn. Instead of feeding the farm-raised fish, other fish like they should be eating, okay, we feed them corn, fish food. And that's a problem. That changes the fatty acid composition of the animal, and then we eat the animal, and then we reap the negative rewards, I guess you could say, of having a skewed essential fat balance. So what we need to do is concentrate on getting enough of these omega-3 fats to balance off the 6s in our diet. I'm a big advocate of salmon. I love wild-caught salmon as a great source of omega-3 fats. I also like the new omega-3 eggs that they sell in the supermarkets. And the way they get these is they don't inject omega-3 fats into them. They feed the hens that lay the eggs flaxseed, okay, what they're supposed to be eating in nature. And guess what? All the fats in there, or most of the polyunsaturated fats at least, change from 6s, omega-6s, over to omega-3s. And they become a healthier source of omega-3 fats. Now, a lot of people take flaxseed oil, okay, for their omega-3s. The problem with flaxseed is that humans do not convert plant sources of omega-3 fats very efficiently to over to a usable form known as DHA and EPA. We just don't have the enzymes present, okay? Animals can do it. Cows can eat grass and turn grass into omega-3 fats. We cannot, okay? Chickens can eat flaxseed and turn it into usable omega-3s. We cannot. So animals have this ability, humans don't. And that just makes sense. I mean, we don't go outside eating grass, right? We can't digest it. So different animals have different ways of dealing with their nutrients. So as humans, we're better off extracting the omega-3 fatty acids that we require from animal sources of omega-3s. And that's a big point to make, because a lot of people are using the wrong forms of essential fats. Now, they're still healthy, but you're gonna miss some of the benefits of it. Personally, I have a fat supplement, okay, or essential fatty acid supplement known as Omega-Lyze, which puts the two omega-3 and omega-6 necessary fats in one formula and just makes it easier to take in. A source of fish oil, a source of evening primrose oil, and we're good to go. And that's kind of like an insurance policy that really is helpful, because sometimes we just can't get it from the food we eat. And it's nice to know that if you're taking it, at least in pill form, we don't have to worry about your body going into this essential fat hoarding mode. Having said that, even though the essential fats are necessary, they're not really the majority of the fats we want to take in. The majority want to come from another class of fats known as the monounsaturated fats. And probably most of you know of these fats because you've heard of the product extra virgin olive oil. That's a very, very high source of monounsaturated fats. There's been a lot of evidence, okay, to show that the people in the Mediterranean who eat a lot of this extra virgin olive oil have very low incidence of heart disease, because monounsaturated fats lower inflammation, they lower cholesterol, and they just make our cardiac health much better. Now, there's another type of oil out there known as macadamia nut oil, which really is new to the market for most people. Most people have never heard of it. It's actually higher in monounsaturated fats than extra virgin olive oil. It actually tastes better. It's got a buttery taste. And the advantage of macadamia nut oil, the true advantage of mac oil over extra virgin olive oil, is that you can cook with it. Any authentic Italian chef, I'm half Sicilian, so I know this, knows you cannot cook with olive oil. It burns. When you burn olive oil, you ruin the health benefits of it. Okay? Macadamia nut oil has a very high smoke point, which means you can cook with it and fry with it and do anything you want with it, and it doesn't destroy the integrity of the molecule. And therefore, it becomes much more usable in terms of preparing foods. And you're going to see a few recipes designed with it a little later that we're going to talk about. And you'll notice that it is a very good tasting oil. The problem with macadamia oil is it's just not available. People couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. There was like 1 or 2 brands of it, so I decided to go to South Africa and import a brand of macadamia oil and have my own species brand that's readily available now, which really wasn't before. So that's a good thing. Now, having said this, if we get enough of these essential fats and we get enough of these monounsaturated fats, what we'll find is that our metabolism will actually increase in size, in speed. And that being said, is the reason this occurs is because now the body senses there's enough fat coming in, there's no deprivation sensed, and monounsaturated fats have a way of revving up the metabolism, almost similar to the way throwing lighter fluid on a little campfire would do. It inflates what's going on. So the right fats will help with fat burning. And fat intake actually, like I said before, suppresses insulin release and stimulates another hormone known as growth hormone.